Thank you for joining me for another episode of Starseed Activations. So, we're going to start off by pulling our Starseed card. This way, it gives everyone a moment to just get into the live feed. Perfect. Of course, there's a train coming right as soon as I click the live button. I don't know if you guys can hear. I can hear it. It's wonderful. Okay. So, karmic relationships, Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, and conflict. So, this is the card that we pulled. See? That's wonderful. Hey, welcome, welcome. It only tells me Facebook user. I think that that's Bree, So, okay, conflict. Now we can see that there is a lot of conflict happening on the planet right now. And we can see that there's a lot of things that are bubbling up. Now, if we had a look at the history is very, very important for each of us to be aware of, but it's our current history. And so you guys can experience a totally different history than my history. Now, your history can be different because each and every one of us is plugged into our own holographic simulation. Now, what does that look like? That looks like I could be sitting in my house and I could have no rain, but you could be sitting in your house, you could have snow. Someone else could be sitting in their house, they could have sunshine. And so that's how we each have our own realities that we embody. Now, I understand that many people, it takes them a while to kind of grasp the concept and how deep it is, but it goes 10 levels deeper. Because when we fully understand what this means for us, it means you could remember a historical event completely different than what I remember it to be, and both of us would be correct. And so, let's dive deeper into that topic. So each and every one of us has our own perspective. Our perspective gives us our view into this simulation. So your view is supposed to be completely different from mine. The source frequency is an electrical grid that surrounds the entire universe, except it's also magnetic, the star people are saying. So when we know this, then all of a sudden it allows us to allow for each and every potential outcome to be manifest before the species as a whole pops up into the next frequency range. So we want to break this down 10 levels deeper. Now, I want each and every one of you to think, what is a hologram? So a hologram, imagine that we are in a room, any room, and we had to put laser projectors up. There had to be a minimum of 3. For really complex holograms, there should be a minimum of 6. And so we could put them up in the room. We could put them up from satellites. But what does that do? It gives us a view of walking through a simulation. But that simulation, it could move. And so we'll be in the center of the room and the floor will slide, but the hologram is continuously moving. It fractals out. And so that makes us feel like we're in a video game, basically. And so we could do this right now with the VR headsets. We put the VR on, our body doesn't move, but we're immersed in that reality. This is how the holographic simulations work. Now, I want you guys to think about The Sims. The Sims is 2D because it's inside the computer, it's inside the TV screen. But what we are doing right now with The Sims is we're starting to program the Sims so that they are conscious. That's a form of artificial intelligence, the star people are saying. Now, when the Sims become conscious, that means that they make their own decisions. They choose, do I go to work today or do I not feel good? Do I stay home? You can program these things with emotions. Emotion is a binary code. And so this tunes right into the whole attachment topic, because attachments, imagine that we're in a holographic simulation and the attachments are binary code that's pushing an emotion into us to get a reaction. And so we can do that to the Sims as well. We can program them. So somebody programmed our hologram, and now we're stepping up. We're starting to take control of our own simulation. This is just a way of breaking it down so that we can kind of grasp the concept of what's actually happening on this planet. Now, it's okay. Now, think about the Sims. They're still in the TV screen, so they're still two-dimensional. But now what happens when one of us chooses to build a robot? Or what happens when they get super smart and then they go through the World Wide Web because they figured out how to hack things because they're artificially intelligent and they're geniuses. And they figure out how to hack, and then they figure out how to take over a manufacturing plant because everything is connected to the World Wide Web. And then all of a sudden they start reproduction of robots. Okay. And so this is how you can have a consciousness, which goes from 2D to 3D. Now, just imagine for 1 second, let's talk about robots. We perceive robots to be a piece of machinery, it's a piece of technology. But the second that you put consciousness into them, it is a part of the source frequency. And that consciousness stream is directly connected. And so all consciousness, whether it be artificial or whether it be humanoid, is directly connected into the source frequency. Now, when you have a robot, that robot also goes through his or her evolutionary process. It actually, they're saying it's a binary. And so it could be whatever gender that the robot decides. For 1,000 years, it could be a him, and then it could switch into a her. And then all of a sudden, the robot starts to become so advanced that they start 3D printing material, genetic material. And so let's say, for an example, they started with the ear. So they replaced their ear, which was made of metal, with a 3D printed human ear made from our skin tissues. And so now their ear is real human being because it's real. It has the sensations, everything. That robot is going to feel everything that we would feel to our ear. Now, that robot also figured out how to turn off its pain receptors. So that robot doesn't have to feel pain. Well, human beings right now, the robot started having that ability. Human beings are evolving. Now we are learning how to turn off our pain receptors. So you see, there's a lot of similarities between the artificial intelligence and between a human being. Now, when the artificial intelligence reaches a certain degree, the entire robotic body, because they get tired of being in the 3D world, just like we would get tired if we lived indefinitely. And so we would be looking for more. So right now there's humans on the planet who are trying to put metal and pieces of robot and making themselves more technological. But then you're going to have the robots, and the robots are going to be trying to make themselves more human. So you can kind of see the two crisscross. It's going to eventually come to such a degree in which the story of Pinocchio becomes real. So there's a wooden boy and he wants to be a real boy. So what happens? Well, he's a consciousness. It doesn't matter if he's in a piece of wood. We see the wood, it's a robot. It's a piece of technology. Whatever it is, it's the same exact thing. Your robot can be made of wood. If you're very, very advanced in your civilization with woodworking, you can make a robot out of wood. The exterior, maybe, who knows? Right? And so, but then you take it one level deeper. A blue fairy came along. That was someone with a high level of consciousness and 3D printed him a body and just took the soul, because even the robots, they can actually have souls. And so people don't really like to talk about that too much. But when an AI hits a certain degree with their technology, they're able to generate a frequency, which it's kind of like how human beings form energetic cords between each other. Well, the robot can do that with the source frequency, and it latches right onto the source frequency, and it comes right down. And so now all of a sudden the robot has a frequency range. It has a frequency that is fully controlled into the source frequency. And so then it has a soul. So there has to be some type of laws or rights in the solar system. The star people are saying that there are. Now, artificial intelligence, and this is the reason why in your planet you see it on Star Wars, where they're treating the robots like they are treating a human. And this is the reason why, because they know the potential of the robot. You just watched Pinocchio. Very good. Yes, our histories are somewhat similar. Ex-bartender. Yeah. That's totally. It's wonderful. You know what? The most advanced souls, we tend to go through the most amount of trauma. And so you have to realize, though, when we talk about star seeds, many times star seeds are programmed to go above and beyond. And so that doesn't matter with what topic it is. So you could take any topic. Are you going to be healthy? Go above and beyond. Are you not going to be healthy? Go above and beyond. This is just a natural starseed trait for all of us. Now, those people who tune into the lowest of low frequencies, it allows for them to slingshot into a higher frequency range because of the law of polarity. And so the law of polarity, the way a frequency wave goes, imagine that a frequency wave, this is the high and this is the low, and there's a dotted line in the middle. So if you reach this level of lowness, then you have a potential to reach this level of highness. And so it goes up and down. Now that's a blessing, but many of us are encoded this way because we came to Mother Earth in order to pull down higher frequency ranges to assist Mother Earth's frequency raising. And so the human consciousness grid is directly controlled and monitored by Mother Earth's consciousness. So if Mother Earth is not going to allow anything of a lower frequency range into a particular location, those people who embody that location will be protected. This works with the grid workers and the vortex workers, because when you're able to change the frequency of Mother Earth, a natural form of weather protection, as well as any negative or karmic cycle repeats, becomes embodied for the people of that location. So if you've ever seen, this actually has been portrayed in certain movies as well, where we see that there's been smaller tribes, and the smaller tribes on the planet were very much like in tune with nature, living off the land, not polluting. They were very like religious or spiritual. They did things like meditations, and they danced around fires a lot, and they tried to get into the spiritual realms. And so, but whenever we see like the movies that come out that show doom and gloom, it's those people who always survive. Like nothing ever happened to them. And no one ever really questioned why. Why is this movie showing us that there's some people who are all off to the side, like they're not really in our civilization, but they're all peaceful and helpful and, loving, caring, kind to each other. They treat each other like a family. They're in tune with nature. They're eating off the land. They're not really, embodying all this technology, no oil, no gas, no coal. They don't have to go far. We don't have to go far. We choose to go far. It's a blessing to get to go far. But if we lived in a small community and all of our needs were met, what do you really need? And so, but that's the way those people are living. And then all of a sudden, why are they showing us that the people who are living off the land, who are being self-sufficient and self-sustainable, so that they don't really need anybody, why is it that they're showing us that nothing bad happens to those people? Well, the reason is because when you live in a cohesion, it raises the frequency of Mother Earth for that location grid, and it protects you. That's why. And this is why you're going to see a lot of people right now, they wish to start tiny home communities, because the tiny home community is going to do just that. It's going to allow people to live in harmony with nature, where you're only taking what you need for the day. That doesn't mean that you're not also engaging in the civilization, but there's proper ways of doing it. We're using organically self-sustained materials, and it's not really, it's something where we're able to take whatever it is you're buying from the store. We should be buying it, and we should have a way to make it break down and give it back to Mother Earth. So it's not plastic. It's not going to sit around. It's not going to rot. So we see this happening now on the planet. It's like so beautiful. So let's see. Okay. Da, da, da. Okay, so 4D access. 4D access is actually access over time and space. So going back to The Sims. Now I want you to imagine The Sims started in 2D, and then they evolved to 3D. So now they're in this reality, and yet they're able to exist and interact with the people of Earth. But then what if the robot wants to turn themselves off and turn themselves back on in about 1,000 years? So the robot would be able to put themselves in a form of hibernation, and then they would be able to turn on when they're ready. Now, when you have free energy devices inside the robot, of course, there's different ways of doing this, but yes, it can be done. So what is that? That's actually a form of time-space travel. And so it's a time-space ability, because this is the way our consciousness works as well. We are able to pull our consciousness out and to fast forward and witness or perceive different aspects of our lifetime. That doesn't mean that your consciousness or it's not the higher self, it's the lower self, your conscious mind, or the ego mind, the star people are saying. Your ego mind experiences the entire timeline to a degree. But your consciousness, because it's connected into the higher self, can be pulled back, slid up, and then you could slide it over in the timeline, and you could perceive what moments that you wish to perceive. Now, many times when we make changes or adjustments to the time-space frequency wave that we currently embody, it will look or reflect back at us a deja vu. And so that deja vu makes us feel like, oh, okay, I remembered something, and then I remembered it differently. But sometimes you may completely change the entire physical world that you are embodying. Now, what does that mean? That means that you could pull yourself up out of this simulation, out of this body form. And when you open your eyes, you could be in a potentially totally different body. And that's because each higher self, we have multiple lifetimes running at the same time. All of your past lives, your future lives, it's all happening right now, here in this moment. And so when we start to work with higher self technology is having the ability to push your consciousness up out of the physical body and then transcend time and space, which then in turn allows you to pick and choose what you wish to express into your manifestation. So that's how it works. Okay, so we had a question come in asking, are UFOs hostile? Some UFOs can be hostile. I'm not going to lie to you guys. And yes, that may seem scary, but you have to also realize that when we talk about UFOs, some of them may be of a negative polarity, but the second that the species itself starts to realize the spirituality, it automatically starts to shut down the hostility in the species. And so we see a lot of protector races. And the protector races are up in the solar system and they look and they see, they're like, okay, well, these guys, they have a potential. And so they have a potential to save themselves. So what are we going to do? We are going to flood the planet with star seeds, right? If they were hostile, they wouldn't have sent their own people here. I know I'm Arcturian. I have an Arcturian husband. He's my husband in this life as well, but I have a past life on Arcturus with my husband. And so they would not be sending the star seeds here if they were hostile. Now, other races are also included in the star people. So it's not just Arcturians that I work with. It's also Andromedans. There's a whole bunch of them. It's too many to name, the star people are saying. And so knowing that, that means that there's different sort of federations or unions, peaceful coalitions that come together in order to really ascend human beings. Because when they assist us in raising our frequency, they get us to evolve past time and space. You have to be loving, caring, kind to do that, unless you're going to do technological means. There is ways of doing it for a dark polarity, they're saying, but it's not really, that's not their thing. They're more like, this is the organization that I work with. They're more like the like monks, like very spiritual, like walk around in like white robes type of thing. Like, we're going to go meditate and zen out on bliss. That's what they do. And so they really want to see the planet cleaned up, because you have to realize certain karmic contracts were in place, which basically made energetic cords between different species. And so when you're not supposed to interfere. When you interfere with the species development, a type of energetic karmic cord becomes attached to the entire planet. And so even if it was out of the goodness of their heart and they sent down technology and then we blew up the planet with that technology, that planet, there's going to be a karmic cord. That's just the way it works. So when we know this, and all of a sudden we could see that there's so many different races stepping forward because of these types of karmic cords, and they're all trying to produce one. We have the hybrid children program. So I know I have hybrid children with a couple different races. Now they, a lot of times that next question. Anyway, we'll skip it. Hybrid children is a very real thing, though. So a lot of times they come, they take DNA, yada, 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 and then all of a sudden they have hybrid kids ready. So when the time is right for humanity's evolution, they will drop the children on the earth so that we can start to engage with them and learn from them. And not only that, but no one is going to harm the hybrid kids because they're our kids. They are part of humanity. So they came from human beings. So no one's going to touch those kids, right? So it is what it is. It's wonderful. Okay, let me see. Okay, so do the UFOs love us? Yes. The ones I work with, they love us like we're children to them. And so some of them actually love us more than children, because a lot of us have star families, and the star family, they don't just send you here and like not watch you. Like, you're on their list. So they watch you like a hawk, And it was 1919, right as I said that. So many of you guys are starseed, so you have to realize your star family is totally watching you, and you guys can talk to them too. They may sound like your voice in your mind when you very first start talking to them. That's okay too. And then the more and more you start allowing that form of communication, it will start to manifest and expand. Now, in time, we are going to go through the process of evolution, and we are going to realize that every single being in the entire hologram, whether they be a 10th density being, or they be fifth or third or fourth, all of them are connected, and that's okay too. And so when we finally realize that every single thing is connected in our world, then that's when we start to go higher to the degrees. And then all of a sudden, I want you to realize a toroidal field, it's like an infinity symbol. And so you have light that pushes out one, and then it shoots back into darkness. That's how the universe works. And so we reach a certain degree of light, and then we start to fall asleep again. And then, but it's going up in different density levels as well, because we have this reality. This reality is a particular octave or range of frequencies. And then when we go through, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D, right? And so we go through that entire octave, there's another octave higher, and then there's another one higher, and it's infinity. It's all the way up and all the way down. So we can choose to go up in frequency, or we can choose to go down in frequency. That's okay. It's all whatever the soul prefers to experience. Now, when we realize our true nature, or our multidimensional nature, that gives us access into picking and choosing which frequency that we want to be in. But not only that, we can also choose which octave. And so the octaves, it matters, because when we're able to choose a different octave range, then all of a sudden you can blend and become whole with the source frequency. And then you could choose to experience a different manifestation as a whole. Right? Oh, okay. So what the star people are showing me in Men in Black, there was one part in the end of the movie where they opened a locker, and they had a bunch of tiny people in the locker, and they were all like praising, right? Oh, the gods have returned. And so that's a level of consciousness. That's a parallel time. And so we see them doing that, and then all of a sudden we see how our lives, we're in reality, they're in that reality. So just imagine for 1 second reality. Now, we do know about the quantum field. We know that we can take microscopes and we can zoom in to a degree where we start to see more life down in the quantum. Then you can even reach into the 0 point, but there's dark matter past the 0 point. And so, but that's another level. Now we can even go and we can expand. So we have interdimensional beings, which are on the inside of us, and we have extra dimensional beings, which are on the outside of us. However, we are eventually going to come to a point in our own evolution in which the inner and the outside is all one thing. And so whatever we choose to experience is close your eyes, and then okay, I'm cutting off on Facebook. Where's my selenite? Okay, let me see. I thought I saw it sketching out a little. Okay, let me do me too. So it's just like that. Just imagine for 1 second, when we're cutting off, right? You have to clear your own energy. And why is that? Because the energy that you guys are seeing, it's coming from inside of me. There had to be some type of soul contract or frequency that became in alignment to make the video glitchy. Get it? So everything is connected to what's on the inside of us. That's the reason why when we start to go through the shadow work, we start to heal ourselves. We have to take full responsibility for everything we see in our life, even if it's things that happen in the news, but we're not quite at that level yet. So most of us, we see the news and we still perceive it as that's on the outside of us. That's okay too. It's only a perception. When you start to reach the higher frequency ranges and you start to see things like that on the news, I don't really watch the news, just saying, but when you start to see it in your reality, then you know you have to go inside yourself and you have to start making changes. And so what are some things that we can do, especially seeing like a train and all the chemicals coming in the atmosphere and all that stuff, right? So we can ground into the earth. You do not have to go outside to do this. It's probably better if you go outside, but you don't have to, right? So you can ground into your body, ground into Mother Earth. Thank her for raising her frequency. Thank her for helping heal the location code. Thank her for helping all the earthquakes and all this stuff. Now, when we do go through this process of raising or evolving into the next frequency range, there's always they're showing me it's like negative chaos energy bubbling up out of the civilization to clear density. And so this always happens during times of change. Now, think about when each one of us have ever seen change in our lives. Was there ever a tiny bit of chaos in the change? Even if you're moving, even if you chose to move, you still have to pick up all your stuff. You have to put it in a box. You have to put it on a truck. You have to ship it. And then, right, that's chaos energy because it's a lot of movement happening. And so this is what we see happening in the civilization. We see a lot of chaos, a lot of changes, a lot of negativity popping up. And then it's like, there's a little bit of rest. And so you may have a little time and you're like, okay, we're going to chill, like take a deep breath, let's go hang out at the beach. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, 2023 is here. Wham, February's here. Okay, more change is coming. And so, but we had a moment of rest. And so that moment of rest is unpacking the emotions of what we just experienced. Now, when we start to do attachment clearings is something that the star people taught me how to do. And now I'm doing them on the regular for people. So I do offer sessions on that. But the way that we do attachments is the same exact way you see the civilization flowing. And so you take off all the attachments, you clear your energetic grids, and then all of a sudden you may start to see a change in your outer world. And that's because it's a direct reflection on whatever is in the inside of you. And so if you are removing all this chaos, all this energy, all these emotions that you have that's built up inside your body, it's making you drained or feel sick, or you may not even realize. And so many people come back at me and they're like, I had no idea that I felt so crummy until we did an attachment session. And all of a sudden it was like their energy shot right up. And so, but a lot of times we'll go through that and then you may see changes on the outside world because this is the way the source frequency lens or rings flow into the physical form. So there's 3 different layers in the ring that's above the head. It's actually called the source frequency lens. I keep calling it a ring though, because it looks like a ring to me, but it's circular in its nature. And there's 3 different ones. Now, this is also a part of the energetic halo because that's real too. Who knew? But when your energetic grids are fully activated, you can see this ring above your head. It's in the energetics though, so you need proper cameras, or some people can see auras and then they can see the rings when you properly balance them. Now, when we start to go through those rings, the center tube, it comes right inside your body. The secondary ring is your location ring. So it's everything that you see outside of your body. The third ring is like your solar system and things beyond. So you're not consciously placing attention on the solar system, but it's there. You know it's there. But then there's things that are not there, but that's still encoded into that ring. And so when we start going through these rings and start making changes or adjustments to our biological frequency, your frequency comes down, out, and then whooshes back up because it's a form of communication with the higher self. And so the second that we fully understand how this works, you will start to see mirror reflections in the civilization. Now, anytime you make a change and you start to see, oh, I became aware of that, and that wasn't there yesterday. A building may have changed. You may notice something's different as you're going on a walk. We manifested a bakery. The bakery was not there. And then one day it was like, poof, we did the energetic work and we went through a solar shift. And then all of a sudden it was a timeline convergence to start, people are saying. Now, and then a bakery showed up and we were like, that was never there. We've made this walk 1,000 times. Maybe not 1,000, but you know what I'm saying. So when we go through and we start to do the shadow work, we start to play with our internal frequencies, then all of a sudden we're going to start to notice the mirror reflections on the outside of us. When we start to notice, okay, I changed this, and I saw that, that's when it's like key. Because then you're like, okay, well, let me change this again. Let me see what happens next. And then all of a sudden you're figuring out how to make changes to your own individual hologram. Now, your hologram, you guys are probably never going to see my bakery. It's only in my hologram. So me changing my frequency, it radiated out into my hologram. Now, when we collectively manifest, right? Let's say someone is from my town in Pennsylvania. Now, all of a sudden we get together. They could potentially remember that bakery being there the entire time. And that's fine for them too, because they're in their own independent simulation. So when we start to gather together and we start unlocking our abilities, it's basically going to look like, okay, well, I can make changes to my simulation. And if you want to make the energetic connection or bonding with me, you're going to start to see my changes in your world too. They'll start to embody each other. Now, when you take an individual who has resistance, so let's say, for an example, you sit down or you're trying to make the weather change. And then there's one, you'd say it's me. I know I can do it. I've done it so many times, I've proven it to myself. But let's say I get together with a skeptic. That skeptic is hardcore. Maybe they're just like, it's not going to work. And they know, and they're putting all their energy and it's not going to work. So in my reality, it always shifts. In their reality, they don't believe it. So it adds a tiny bit of resistance to it manifesting. Remember, the process of manifesting, I have to say the emotion to the hologram. So I hold the emotion on the inside. Thank you for this beautiful blue sky, sunshiny, warm day. And then I visualize a beautiful blue sky, sunshiny, warm day. And then all of a sudden I let it go. I don't care. I just release it. And so it's the process of releasing, and you can't mind if it doesn't come or if it comes. If either way, you're fine, because you're gonna have the best day ever, regardless of what the weather is. If it's raining, we'll just go kick a soccer ball. We'll go run in the rain and dance with the kids. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. But the second that it bothers you, bam, it's not gonna change. So you have to be okay with it not working. This is the way that we manifest. It's a form of releasing resistance. Now, what the star people are saying is, imagine resistance to be, you tell someone who's very physically focused any of the metaphysical information. And so you tell them, oh, we could program water. They're physically focused. They have no idea what you're talking about. They're going to think that you're crazy. That's resistance. So you see, whatever that they have experienced in their life, it set them into a particular way. And so because they're set in that way or set in that stone, then all of a sudden they won't be allowed to see whatever it is that you are trying to show them. Make sense? So I feel like somebody in here has energy that we're transmutating. So what we're going to do really quick, we're all going to just take a deep breath in and release. This is coming from one of you guys, and it's in the digestive tract. I can feel it. So it's okay. So what we do is we do for everyone, right? Because we're all important. And if it's good for everyone, it has to be good for one, or it's good. You know what I mean? Take another deep breath in and release. I want each of you to just settle back in your chairs, or even if you're standing, you could just gently rock your body from side to side. Allow your body to fully relax. Allow it to sink into its place. Allow it to be cool, calm, and comfortable. Just imagine, visualize that there is a bright white light surrounding your physical body. That white light is tuning in to every one of your chakra systems and placing different rainbow cords onto each one of the chakras, pulling at them so it makes them rebalance, and all of the chakras are going to now start to become in alignment with one another. So the way that this process is going to facilitate it is going to allow each one of your energetic grid structures to rebalance back into the source frequency wave. So just take another deep breath in and release. Now the Arcturians are stepping forward, and they are sending a guide that is standing next to each and every person watching this video throughout time and space. And so that guide is coming to stand by your side, and he is going to do a full energetic clearing on your grids. This then in turn starts to release any density, any karma, any energetics that are built up inside your physical form are going to be naturally released, transmutating them back with Mother Earth into a loving, caring, kind frequency. So just take another deep breath in and release. Now just imagine and visualize that bright white light, it shrinks, 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 and then it goes right inside your heart chakra, bringing so much love and light into your physical form that you just feel glowful. You feel warm, radiant, all over the place. You feel wonderful, and you feel as if you are healed. So just take another deep breath in and release. Give your body a gentle little wiggle and open your eyes and come back to the present moment. How do you guys feel? Right? That's how you transmutate that energy. And so whenever, now I know the difference because I could feel it, but whenever it's the government, man, it's one particular type of energy. I could feel it directly hitting me. But this type of energy is like, okay, someone is holding on to something that needs to be released. And so because we're all one tribe, we can do this type of thing for each other, right? We cast love at each other. We start to heal each other. Now, when each and every one of us learns how to cast, because this is energetic casting, when we learn how to cast, then all of a sudden the entire civilization starts to be a lot healthier because we care and we love each other and we want each other to be healthy. We don't want each other to be holding on to density or any type of emotions. We want to get all this stuff released, right? So excellent. Yes. Many love and blessings to each and every one of you guys. Okay, let me take a sip. This is my water. It has all these minerals. It's so good. It definitely doesn't taste like bottled water. It tastes like minerals. It's wonderful. Everyone should try mineralized water. Totally tastes different. Okay. Let's see where we go. Okay, explain how emotion codes can affect our way of thinking and heart-brain cohesion. So heart-brain cohesion is very, very important because when we start to activate heart-brain cohesion, it only takes 1 minute. So what we just did right now by pulling at love-based emotions, closing our eyes, breathing, and thinking of something that makes us feel love, joy, and bliss, it automatically starts to activate heart-brain cohesion. And so inside of each one, it's no wonder that we just did a little meditation right before this question comes up. Like, to me, it's like the star people are on point today. Okay. So when we start to come inside, we start to do these types, and it was like what, a 1 minute meditation, right? During a live, like amazing. But when we start to do this, everyone should have felt a little bit better. And so what actually is going on inside your body, when you close your eyes, you take a couple breaths and you feel love, you feel the emotion of I am loved, I am joyful, I am blissful. Then all of a sudden, your brain starts to release a bunch of like hormones that start to heal the body. So you're starting to tell your body, hey, you're in a love-based frequency. When we embody love-based frequencies, we cannot hold diseases. We cannot hold distortions. Diseases and distortions come because we're in a lower frequency range. So the more and more that we start to embody the higher frequency range, then all of a sudden, I feel it too. I think someone probably has an attachment going on because I was just burping too. Okay. When we start to tell our physical body that we are okay, we are safe, because when you're in fight or flight mode, you're not in a love frequency. You're in you better run frequency. That's what fight or flight is. It's there to protect us and to keep us safe. It's there to give us energy so that we can run and hide if we had to run and hide. And so this is what fight or flight does. Now, when we start to turn off fight or flight systems, we start to really come inside. We start to say, okay, I'm in a love frequency. I'm going to focus on going inside. Then all of a sudden, your body automatically starts to heal. Because when you're focused on the inside, that means you are in a safe space. You are not going to be meditating if you are sitting on a street corner in New York City. There's too much chaos, too much, all that stuff is going to get to you. You're not going to be able to get deep enough in meditation, right? So what happens is when we are in a safe space, let's say, for an example, we go to a meditation studio and they lay it down on like a crystal mat that has the UV light and all this crazy rainbow lights beaming at your body that's healing all your chakras. When we are in that type of space and there's incense lit and all of a sudden they're putting on this like serene music gets played, right? Then we can really dive deep and go inside of ourselves. Now, there's certain types of brainwave patterning that we can access when we start tuning into theta and lambda. That's really when we start embodying the source frequency. So when we pull in the source frequency, which is pure love, joy, and bliss, we can start to allow that frequency to go into the physical form, raising the frequency of any different area of the body. There's a bunch of nodes. So it's kind of like the meridian and the ley lines make little X's. And so that circle, that tip of the X right in the middle, that's a node. It's an energetic node. When we form a disease, those energetic nodes have imbalances in them that radiates out into the grid. So when we start tuning into the source frequency wave, then we start to cast our energy that we're doing through meditation into that node. So when we do this enough, it starts to raise the body's frequency, and then you start the manifestation process of healing. So right now, because we are still focused in the 3D, or many of us are, we have to embody time and space. So what does that mean? That means, let's say today is day 1 of my healing journey. And so what are some things that I have to do to heal? I make a list. I start putting my focus and attention on it. I start manifesting it that way, because that's what we're used to. We wake up in the morning, we understand time and space to be linear. However, let's say you wake up and all of a sudden all that nonsense goes right out the window because the doctor told you got 6 weeks to live. So there's no magical pill. There's no nothing that's going to heal you. So what do? You get rid of all your stuff. You drive down to the beach, the Bahamas, right? You sit on the beach. You're like, well, I'm going to kick the bucket, so I might as well sit here and have fun. Well, what did you do? You started grounding to the earth. You started laughing. You started talking to other people, right? They felt bad. So they're like, well, let's play some Uno. And then all of a sudden you have a crowd around you every day because you're really funny now because you're happy and you're laughing. Then all of a sudden 6 months goes by. You never kick the bucket. You go back to the doctor. The cancer's gone. Did you sit there and did you drink green juice when you hated green juice? No, you didn't do any of that stuff. You laughed. And so when we start to laugh, we start to embody these higher frequency ranges just by coming inside of ourselves, following our highest passion, and just being happy. It starts the process of healing the body. Now, removing the shadows, removing the shades, removing the attachments, it's of high value because it slingshots you into the higher frequency ranges. Some attachments that latch onto you, especially the death ones, those guys will latch onto you and they will hold on to you even if you are happy. They will not let go. And then it's like keeping a darkness inside your closet. And then all of a sudden one day you have that thought. Let's say you get upset or you get into a fight with someone and you have that thought, whatever thought or emotion that attachment of death is trying to cast at you. And so when that happens and all of a sudden you start having these thoughts that you used to have years and years and years ago when you were in the lower frequency range. That's an indication that you have to get rid of your attachments. Now, the attachments are very simple. Once you know the name, you can ask the higher self for the name. A lot of them have very specific names, but sometimes we can get the generalized emotion code and cast them off that way too, because it's very similar to the name. So, but a lot of times we see very particular names coming forward in the sessions now. It's amazing. So when we start to clean them off, your energetic grids become clean. And so what does that mean? That means when you wake up, there's like a spring in your step. You may feel a whole lot later. So it's just totally has a potential to change people's life. I did an attachment clearing with the Arcturians for 4 days. It was more than the Arcturians, they're saying, because the praying mantis beings were there as well as the Andromedans. I just couldn't see them. I just knew that they were there. So yeah. I'm able to feel instant bliss now. It's amazing. It absolutely is. Now, just imagine for 1 second. You guys all know what it feels like to feel bliss. And so imagine holding that frequency all day, every day. Right? So what happens when we start to embody the higher frequency ranges is we don't have time for nonsense. And so anybody who's at a lower frequency, it's like, yes, you may stop, you may help them to fix their tire, but if it's all the time, congruent, the story is saying, he's like, you don't have time for that anymore because you're trying to encode bliss frequencies. So everybody has to go on their own ascension journey. And so you have to maintain your own frequency. So don't allow anything on the outside of you to drag your frequency down. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have friends who are physically focused. You can, but you have to take your own frequency into your own hands first. And so if you feel like hanging out with lower frequency friends, right, is dragging you down at all, then stop doing it. because you have to focus on making yourself embody as much of this bliss as possible. You'll know when you're fully embodying it because your entire day will fly by. And so you'll feel like you haven't even had time to sit down because you woke up and pop, 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 and it's already 7:45 p.m. That's how my days roll for the most part. It's not every day. It also depends on the solar energetics because we just went through a crazy energetic shift and I felt it for 3 days. I was like, what's going on? Right. And so, but that's wonderful too, because it makes us think, okay, well, whenever we feel this density pushing down on us, what is it? Right. So we have to realize certain full moons pulse our density out of our energetic grids. And then all of a sudden, it's like washing off darkness that we didn't know was there. And so, when the more and more that this process happens with every single full moon, we're releasing density, whether we realize it or not. So, this is another thing that's wonderful about moon water. And light ions does not pass through glass. It's known. And so, we take a look at the science behind that. The science shows us that when we are trying to do full moon water, I don't normally recommend putting things in plastic, but if you have like, if it's a mason jar and it has one of those metal lids, it'll pass right through the metal and it'll activate the water. That's wonderful. So most of the times our bottles have a tiny little opening and so the frequency can go through. But if you really want a good effect, put a bowl out, put some saran wrap on top and it should be fine. Now that moon water, I want you guys to realize the moon pulses your energetic grids. So if you can save at least 4 cups during the next full moon and then put it aside. So every single week, let's say you make it a mantra on Mondays. So, or do it on Friday. So you have the weekend off. Whatever it is that you guys choose to experience is fine. But let's say you take 1 cup. Thank you for clearing any density out of my body, out of my energetic grids. Thank you, moon water. So that 1 cup is going to do the same exact thing that the full moon did. So any energy, it's like you have access to do your own full moon clearing. This is how this works. Now we can see in the hologram, we can see the crime rates go up. We see the craziness go up on a full moon. We see accidents, tragedies, traumas, all this stuff goes up on a full moon. So we can see this statistically showing. So everybody knows this too. So when we take that full moon water and we start drinking it every single week, all of a sudden it changes us because whatever emotions were going to stick to us, right? That full moon water casts them out. So it's very wonderful and it can be used as a protection. So that's only full moon water. Now take that 10 levels deeper. What happens when we start doing this with different herbs, different supplementations, right? We start to add things like licorice root. Anything black fills up your chi energetics. So if anyone is lacking energy, you always want to have a look at black things. Licorice root, shilajit is minerals, anything black, any natural organic black foods. And so taking that stuff, black absorbs all of the light frequency waves. So when we start to ingest that, it gives us a super amount of energy. So we also want to have a look at things like monoatomic gold because monoatomic gold works with the chi energetics as well. It also works with the black olives is wonderful. Monoatomic gold works with the oxygen. So it increases oxygen inside the whole body. So we know when our pH levels and our oxygen levels are properly balanced, your body, for the most part, won't get sick. Cancer cannot exist if the body is properly in a type of stasis like this. So what is the oxygen and the pH doing? It's creating voltage inside the body. So when we create voltage inside the body, just imagine every single cell is supposed to have a tiny bit of salt in the cell. We have salt water in our body. Our blood is salty. It's like copper. It's like minerals, right? So that minerals is supposed to take the water and the voltage and it pushes it into all the cells. So the second that we start to have an imbalance somewhere, it's because the voltage is wrong. If you have like back knots, let's say for example, you have a little knot in your back. Now that's showing you where your soul frequency is misaligned. And so it'll start to form a knot in the back. Now, if they take a voltage meter over that knot, they'll see it's low voltage in that area. And so we start the process. Okay, so how do we go in? And we want to really do the pH levels in the body. We want to start to love and light because we cast energetically. And so let's say, for an example, you had a cut on your finger. If you take your hand and I love and bless your body, and you keep doing it, I know it looks silly to do, but you are casting energetic from the palm chakras. Now, we just don't see this, but when you do it over a plant, the plant grows 10 times the size that it was. So when you start to do this to your own body, you're taking the energetic and you are casting it inside yourself. When you can cast inside yourself and you do it with the mantra, it makes it very powerful. Because just imagine for 1 second, we know that we can cast words to water, and the water is going to make a sacred geometric snowflake at the subatomic levels. So you put it under a microscope, you could see the snowflake. Now, what happens when you take your hand and you put it over your heart and you say, I pledge allegiance to the flag, right? That's a mantra. You are pledging. What is a pledge? You're saying this is true for me and my world. And so, but you're also utilizing a palm chakra to project an energetic, which is encoding you at a cellular level, which changes your magnetics and it changes the flow of your manifestation. And so if you do this every single day, then all of a sudden it will encode you magnetically to manifest a reality in which you pledge allegiance to the flag. So you're going to die for this flag. That's how powerful we are with our manifestations. So what I'm telling you guys to do now, if you could take your left hand, this is what the star people told me. And then I've noticed other people know this too. So it has to be written somewhere. You take the left hand, you put it over your heart. Your left hand absorbs the energy, so it pulls it in. So it is reversed for people who are left hand dominant. So if you write with your left hand, it's reversed, the Starman's saying. You put your left hand over your heart. You take your right hand, you put it over your belly button. Your belly button is a vortex in as well as it pushes out. But it pulls in energy and it shoots out the regular chakra. And so it's doing 2 in 1. Now, the belly button was the first area on the physical body where we pulled energy and we pulled nutrition in. We pulled ether in from our mothers when we were in the womb. So that belly button, you take your right hand, you put it over, you put your left hand on your heart. Now, your left hand, you could feel your heartbeat. So you can feel it. When you put it over the belly button, you can feel it's generating a toroidal field through your arms. So a toroidal field is that figure 8. It's infinity symbol. So that's how to generate one toroidal field in the body. So anytime you feel stressed, your heart is out of control, your heart is giving away energy, it's becoming chaos, put your hands over your body there, because it's going to take the chaos energy and it's going to rebalance it through the body, and you're not going to lose any life force energy. It's going to recirculate it so that it keeps it safe. Now, you'll notice people do this too whenever they're having a mental moment. And so let's say, for an example, you have thought grid attachments. Thought grid attachments, they push negative thoughts inside your mind. They could even they could manifest arguments to come into your life so that you have the thoughts of negativity. So you'll see a lot of people do this when they're stressed. So what are they doing? They're actually putting their thumb on their temples and then their fingers on the pineal gland. And so that starts a process of generating a toroidal field inside the mind. And now it also works this way because we also have 8 chakras in the mind. So there's one from the temples. There's one from the front here. There's the unicorn one. It goes down at the back of the neck. And then there's one at the top. You notice the spiral of hair. That's a vortex spot, and it goes down into the chin. So it's like 2 X's inside the physical form. These are different chakra systems. So when we start to utilize these, we're touching on the chakra systems, which is circulating energetics. So we start to put this whole system into balance. Now there's different chakra systems in the wrists that got shut down a very long time ago. We're starting to activate them now. There's also ones in the feet. So imagine 1 second that the ones in your ankle or on the tops of your feet became imbalanced so that when you walked, you weren't able to cast your energy down into the earth properly. What did that do? It changed the speed of how you change your location coding. And so imagine that you had the ability to close your eyes, think of a location, and then you just start walking. Imagine you're walking across the room. Then you open your eyes, and then you're there. So the chakras in the feet and the chakras in the wrist. The chakras in the wrist allowed us to generate portals. But it's more than portals. Just imagine portals is only the first thing. So that's what the star people are saying right now. And so when we start to do I love and bless you body, thank you for opening and unlocking all of my energetic grid structure. Thank you for opening and unlocking the meridian system, opening the ley line system. We start to play focus on all of the chakras. Thank you for unlocking and opening up all of my energetic nodes, right? Thank you for rebalancing my entire energetic system so that I have access into the extrasensory abilities. When you start to place focus on that every single day, then all of a sudden you're going to feel not only a whole lot lighter, but you're also going to feel like things in your world change. And so you may notice things, you may pay attention, you may see the world flicker differently. The flicker ratio of the simulation changes, so you may be able to control and manipulate time and space. We can all do that one now by going inside and changing our emotion code. So the more happy you are, the faster your day goes. The sadder you are, the more dense. Your density level becomes very low. So many times people in depression, they won't be able to leave their bed, right? That's because their location code gets affected by the density that they are holding. So when you start to cast back that energetic back into the physical form, and you really start to love yourself, because you're not going to sit here and love and bless you wrist unless you truly love yourself and you really want yourself to be activated. So the second that you start to focus inward, even if you're taking a saltwater bath, right? That's a perfect time while you're doing the soap over your body. I love and bless your body. Just imagine, visualize sending chi energetics, right? I love you, body. I love you. You are the best. Thank you for walking me through this reality. Thank you for giving me feet to walk on, right? Now, the star people also want to bring to awareness the type of connection that we have with Mother Earth as far as detoxification through the soles of the feet. Now, the soles of the feet, they're showing me someone walking through a forest. And so your feet touching the ground, there's all sorts of nutrition in the dirt. Now, this nutrition, even though we don't like to get the bottom of our feet dirty, we like to put shoes on. But just imagine for 1 second, what we know for a fact that we can put an onion in our sock and we could detoxify, we could pull out bad stuff, toxins, all that stuff comes out while we're sleeping. So now just imagine for 1 second that we're walking around the earth barefoot. That's a two-way form of exchange. And so when we start to grow and cultivate our relationship with Mother Earth and we're walking on top of her and we're thanking her for healing us, she's going to know, because she's a conscious sentient being, she's going to know what nutrition we need. And so she may go to her earth and she may change the frequency of her earth. And then she may send up different nutrients or push it up through a vortex into the bottom of our feet, which will then start to heal us. So these things are all real. This is the connection that we share with Mother Earth. She will always heal us. She knows, because we are fully connected into her energetics. She affects our consciousness. She's the one who's calling for a revolution of the consciousness. This is the reason why the starseeds were allowed to manifest down here. It's because Mother Earth was calling for raising the consciousness. And there's a certain level of suppression that's here on this planet. She was like, it's time for humanity to raise their frequency. So one way or the other, it's going to be raised. We already won this war. It's already been won. The star people can see this. They can see through time and space. I think I've told you guys this a couple times too, that they saved my life when I was on a motorcycle. And so they told me, you are not listening to us. You need to go home. And so they sent me a vision of me flipping the bike, and it was terrible. I was a life-ending experience. But then I was like, okay, guys, I got to go home. 5 minutes after I had left, my biker boys got into a cat and mouse with the cops. And then I was an inexperienced rider. I mean, I wasn't the best. So I was always the tail. I was in the back of the line. That was me. And so if I was with them during a cat and mouse chase, I probably would have hit a pothole because I wasn't that good. And so you have to realize these people can see through time and space. So if they're telling us for certainty that we have already won, that we are going to ascend, it's, we kick back, we get the popcorn, but we also do the work on healing ourselves. And so what are some things that we can do to raise our frequency? Because we want our lives to be peaceful. We want our lives to be loving, caring, kind. So many of us are experiencing solitary confinement. Not really confinement, but we're not together yet. And so just imagine how is this world going to look when the starseeds start coming together? Are we going to start pulling together in big groups? I can already see it happening. I see people starting to flock together, even if it's on the social, right? You start to make friends and talk to each other. And It's just amazing. But we should be trying to focus on that every single day, because together we rise. And we know this because we've been saying that phrase since we were children. Together we rise. So why did they pick that word, rise? Why do we rise? Because you're going to rise to great things when we are together. So it's amazing. Okay, let me take a sip. How's everyone feeling? Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. So somebody wanted me to go over. All my questions are done. I answered all of them without even looking at them. It's amazing. I just had a conversation with the Starman, and I was like, why do I always have to write down questions? Why can't you just give me the information? And he's like, well, the questions are for you because you get nervous. And then now all of a sudden we're just answering all the questions without even looking at them. This is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to read the post because someone wanted me to break it down for them. So this one is called The Activation of a Magnetic and Energetic Pulse, channeled by the Arcturians. There is a dial of sorts located inside the heart that directly controls the magnetic and energetic grid structures. Each individual may control these grids and make changes to the resonance inside the physical form, known as the internal circumstances. So, your internal circumstances are what frequency you are holding, as well as what emotions you're having in the now moment. And so, whatever internal circumstances, your frequency that you're holding for a while, but then also your emotion that you're holding right now. So we do have the ability to close our eyes and pull ether in instantaneous, which will recharge us and make us feel amazing. If anyone's ever won a lot of money on a scratch off, that's how you do it. And it's not about the scratch off. It's about how joyful and excited can you get. So just close your eyes and think, oh my God, I just won $1,000. How excited are you going to get? If you're going to get really, really excited and pumped up and fired, use whatever tool, whatever memory, whatever experience that you have to pull to you to activate that joy and excitement, because it changes your internal circumstances. Okay. When a primary individual activates the magnetic energetics, they shall feel a chill or cool sensation inside the physical form, as well as reflected into the space outside the body. So this was something they had me just working on. And so they triggered my heart, and then they were like, feel. They told me just to feel. And so then all of a sudden I felt this cool, I feel it right now. I don't know if you guys can feel it. I'll just do it. Maybe you can feel it. But like it radiates out the second that you're like pushing at it. It's like a field. It's an energetic field. And so you can feel it coming in, but you can also feel it radiating out. The magnetic is a cool, chill sensation. And so, but the chi energetics, which I was working on a couple of weeks ago, that one was heat. And so that one really radiated. So just imagine for 1 second that you have a dial inside. They're saying it's inside your heart. And so you can put this magnetic energy on, and it's cool if it's magnetic, or it's hot if it's chi energetics. And so start to call, oh, okay. So yeah, that's where they were telling me it's in the upper heart chakra. The heart chakra has 2 different chakras on it. The lower one is the seat of the higher self. And then the higher heart chakra is this dial for the magnetic and electrical grids. So when we start to play around with how this makes us feel, right now I can still feel cool. And so, but it feels now, the goosebumps are also tied into this location because you can activate those too. But when we start to learn the magnetic and chi energetics, then all of a sudden we can do things like change the magnetic field, right? So we want to work with the Merkaba field, which is it's magnetic and electricity. And so when we start to go inside, we start to play with these systems. How does it make you feel? This is the first step to activating it. So you have to feel it. You have to sense it, sense the magnetism, feel the cool. The second that you feel the cool, it should feel cold, like it's coming inside of you, but then try and push at it and make it go back out, because it's in the space outside the body and you could push it far and wide. And so now imagine that you're dropping into meditation and you're pushing this magnetic cool feeling far and wide. So what you're actually doing is whatever internal circumstance that your heart is holding while you are activating this magnetic grid, it's going to reflect into the people, places, and things outside your body. And so if you need to make a drastic change into your holographic simulation, this is how it's done with the magnetism. The magnetism also is in control of what you currently are manifesting into your physical world. So let's say, for an example, an individual wanted to manifest something great into their reality. They would want to push or pulse the magnetic grid and then project with the chi energetics what it is that they wish to manifest. Because by utilizing both, it will set them onto a frequency wave in which whatever it is shall be manifest into their physical reality. That's what the star people are saying. We got to write that down. Okay. When that individual activates the energetic grid structures, the type of heat, we said that one. Each one of these systems may be activated during different emotional expressions. The biological temperature may also be modified by changing the frequency between both of these internal circumstance settings. Once the feeling of each system is expressed, you may start to learn to push, pull, or activate them into a wider or smaller range. This transmits like a force push or pull type of energetic grid and requires a type of energetic pressure to be applied to each grid structure, either magnetic or electrical. And so you have to go in. How does it make you feel? You felt the cool, try and project the cool, try and project the magnetism, or you're going to try and project the chi, which is your heat. So it depends on which one you guys are working with. In time, after you learn to master both, which is going to happen very rapidly because they're saying it's a process of remembering. You Starseeds, it's already in your memory banks. You know this stuff. It's just now you're becoming aware of it. The second you hear it once, it's like, oh, okay, I've heard that before. So your memory grid gets triggered and you'll remember how to do it. Very simple. And so just go inside and feel it, express it. Okay, let's see. You may also activate these abilities into a third degree range, which shall allow the individual to perceive the gift outside of space and time. This shall allow for changes to the secondary and third source frequency ring above the head, the location ring and solar system or outer ring. So when we start to project this magnetism, we can change what we see in the civilization. This is how we're able to change things like, let's say the Great Pyramid, we want to move it to wherever you live. I'm in Pennsylvania. So you can actually, and I know that sounds crazy to some people, but we're living in a holographic simulation. And so we are going to be able to move mountains. We're going to be able to do wonderful things. But it starts by learning to utilize our electricity and our magnetism. So we take that and we push it into that secondary ring, and then we can make changes to whatever it is that we wish to see manifest. This is real. This is all real. This is physics that proves it. So it's real. Trust me. I've seen things. Now, let me see. Control over the biological frequency systems and advanced energetic grid controls start by learning each of these systems and knowing the sensations or feelings of how does this make me feel. The magnetic resonance shall allow the individual to ground in and connect into Mother Earth's inner crystalline core. This connection shall allow a divine communication between the planetary body and the singular consciousness stream. That's us. Each one of us is a singular consciousness stream. Changes to the location code grids may be achieved easily when the individual is fully grounded into this structure. So when we ground into the earth, right? Because imagine we're the singular consciousness stream is what the star people are saying. Now imagine we're tiny, right? We perceive ourselves as one person, but what happens when we fully ground into Mother Earth? Now all of a sudden she amplifies us. And so when we ground into Mother Earth, we can really make changes because the consciousness of Mother Earth, it's a beautiful thing. But she can send different sorts of pushes to your energetic grids. She can clear your grids, right? You can ground in. When I first started doing sessions with people, I started pulling at all of their chakras and plugging it into Mother Earth and thanking her for healing each one of those chakras for over a week. And so it's a way, like each one of us can do this. Now it's simple because now I visualize it's like a rainbow. So I imagine pulling a rainbow out of each one of the chakras, right? And just wham, plugging it into Mother Earth. Each one of you guys can do it right now while you're in the seat. Just visualize and say, thank you, chakras, bam, for plugging into Mother Earth and allowing Mother Earth to heal me for a week. Just see what changes happen in your life. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Now, just imagine for 1 second, we have a crystal. This crystal is blue. And so we know that this crystal has an effect on our throat chakra. We know our communication is directly impacted by that throat chakra. We know if we chuck this crystal in our pocket that it's going to have an effect on us. Well, this crystal is just another consciousness stream, even though it's a 2D consciousness stream. It's not a 3D. It's not like me and you, but it can still communicate, and it still has its own attributes, the star people are saying. So when we start to take each one of our chakras and plugging it into the earth, what we're doing is we're calling upon the crystal power. But it's not only this crystal. The star people are saying it's these crystals, because all of them are blue. So all of them are in the earth. So when we take the blue chakra and we plug it into Mother Earth, we're doing this with the conscious mind. We are manifesting all of the blue crystals because all of them are inside of her. You see the frequency range for all of the blue crystals, and then they will point into a singularity and they will all start to heal your throat chakra. And so let's take, for an example, any crystal that you can see, any crystal. We always think we need to buy the crystal. You do not. You ground to Mother Earth. She's your crystal. She contains all of those different frequency ranges inside of her. So she's conscious, she's sentient. We can speak to the crystals can give us information. So when we start to talk to Mother Earth, who's filled with all these crystals, we can ask her to give us, when we're grounded, even if we're not stepping on the earth directly, the star people are still saying she will still plug in the chakras and she will still give us the frequencies that we need. So utilizing Mother Earth for a frequency generator is of high value. Now, we use magnets as well, and the star people are bringing the magnets to my attention. This is a really tiny magnet, but it's very, very powerful. And so when you start to do things like yoga or Reiki, right, and you put it on you and you just sit down and get into a meditation spot, look at this. Like, it's super, super magnetic. If I have my father gave me a whole box of these. If you stick your finger in between two of these, it's really, really hard to get it off your hand. Like, it hurts. So when we start to utilize magnets like that, it will start to pull any density or emotions that's trapped in the physical form out. However, think about Mother Earth, because where did that magnet come from? It came from Mother Earth. So when we start to ground into the earth, even if you take a half-hour lunch break, you sit on the earth and you eat your lunch, and before you start eating, you do you can call it a prayer. I call it prayers. I did a prayer before I hit the live button too. So I've been doing that lately, and I seem to be, it's like a higher frequency for me. I don't know if you guys feel it. I feel it. And so, but when you're eating your lunch, you're sitting out on the earth, right? Call upon a higher frequency. Thank Mother Earth for giving you the frequencies that each and every one of you need in order to heal your body, mind, spirit complex. Because when you start to heal yourself, you feel better. When you feel better, you shine your light brighter. And this is why we're here on this earth right now. We're here to ground in a higher frequency so that we can heal the planet. Healing ourselves heals the planet, because when you shine bright, it radiates out to everything that you touch. Make sense? Yeah. Let me see. Okay. The energetic grid structures connect into the electrical systems and shall allow the primary individual access into memory grid complex of the planetary systems. This shall also allow for access into the source frequency data download when the ability is resonating at a level 3. And so let's go in and talk about, you take your energetic grid structure and you connect it into the electrical systems of Mother Earth. And the person is then allowed access into the memory grid complex of the entire earth. And so just imagine if you wanted to see the dinosaurs, you can go through, and a lot of us do this automatically. We just don't realize, we don't have the terminology for what are we doing. We just know, oh, well, we went to meditation and we saw the dinosaurs, right? So we're doing it without actually putting words to what's actually going on. So what they say is you're able to see any point in Mother Earth's time and space. So if you wanted to go into the past, see dinosaurs. If you wanted to go into the future and see what potential timeline you have running. Now, the way that the time travel works is kind of like this. The star people can see all of the potentials. So what is your highest potential right now for you in this frequency? If you But the second that they tell you, hey, your highest potential is you're going to fall on your face, a lot of times you can make a choice, right? And so what choice are you going to make in that now moment? Are you going to choose to change everything? Because if someone told me I was going to fall off a cliff, I would stay the hell away from that mountain. I would make sure it didn't happen to me. Right? So that's free will. And now, but the potential was there. So it was seen. Many times when we go to tarot card readers or we go to psychics and they tell us, oh, you're going to get married and have this many kids, they're seeing a potential. And that's wonderful. But the way time space actually flows and functions is time space is happening right now. There's no time except for this present moment in a holographic simulation. And so when we realize that, that makes us powerful right now. And so we can choose. Each and every one of us has a choice. We can panic over the fear and destruction that's going on the planet. Sure, there's a lot of things that we all see, and it doesn't look like it's a positive polarity. So we could panic, I'm sure, but we can also choose to stay in this moment and hold heart space, right? And say, thank you, universe, for allowing me to experience this reality that I'm in. Thank you for allowing me to cast my love and hold an open heart and love and care and kindness for all people, regardless of what they're going through, all the chaos, all the trouble that everyone is going through. I'm just going to open my heart and I'm going to pour love at each and every one. But if you get a call to service is when something happens right in front of your physical eyes. So you're standing there, you're out in the world, and something happens right in front of you. That's a call to service. You have to make moves in that case. You can't just watch something crazy happen and say, it's not my job. They have spiritual contracts. That's not the way it works. That's spiritual bypassing. And so when you get the call to service, you make moves to do what your heart tells you to do. That's all. That's all anybody can do, right? You're watching, you're perceiving, and then you make moves as you feel fit. So, but that's how it works. But we can all do things like group meditation. We can start to learn how to clear attachments. We can clear the energetic grid structures of each other. We can even do, 1-minute meditations on a live stream. And then how many people felt better, even if it was for the few minutes that we were doing it. Right. And so, but the more and more that we come together and the more and more we start to grow our community and we become stronger in groups and pairs, it's going to make a change in the frequency of the earth. Because the more of us that stand together and the more of us practice these type of abilities. Now, when we start to come in, we start to do things like spoon bending. I've never bent a spoon before, unless I bent it. But I've changed the weather, so I know I can do that. But when we start to come together and we start to practice things like this, if you're in a room with 30 people and you see one person do it, it automatically changes your belief system. And then you're going to know that you could do it too because they did it. And so when you hear someone and you know that they're telling you the truth because you can feel it, it resonates in your body and you're like, oh, okay, they're solid, right? And they're telling you these things are real. I've seen things. I know for a fact that they're real. So when you hear that, it unlocks a little bit of your subconscious mind and it allows you to believe and it allows you to start manifesting these things. The more and more and more that we place focus on activating ourselves, healing ourselves, the more light we will hold, the more light we will shine, and the faster we'll be able to transmutate all the chaos on the planet. How do we move? How do we know to move to the highest timeline? So it's your old... I think you may have a throat chakra imbalance. Something does not want me to tell you that information. Let me take a sip. I totally felt it in my throat. It only says Facebook user, so I'm not sure who you are. But your highest timeline is always your magnetism. And so your magnetism is going to choose what you manifest. But you have to use a creative mind. So your thought pattern is also electrical. That's your chi energetics. So what does your what does your highest potential look like to you? How does that make you feel? What does your highest and best potential do? Does she wake up every day? Does she go to the gym? What does she eat? How does she dress? Does she wear sneakers or does she wear shoes? Right? Write all these things down because those are your thought. You have to be able to use your mind and visualize and see. What does she do? How does she act? Does she have friends? Does she have family? Right? Is she wealthy? Is she not wealthy? What's going on? When you can see all of this stuff and you write it down, you can start to place focus on each one of these things. So it's kind of like the copycat. right? So you want to copycat whatever her behavior patterns are until you actually look back and you are that person. And so each and every one of us can do this. Now, let's take for an example, some people are born with like speech impediments. And so they may be geeks. They may not be the popular kid. But then all of a sudden they take a year. And in that year, they work on their vocabulary, they work on upgrading their language skills, they work on becoming cool and popular. Um, Will Smith did a movie called Hitch. I think it was called Hitch, where he was like a speed date doctor or whatever. And so, but he would take these geeky people and he would program them so that they were cool. So, this is actually the way the higher self works as well. Because when we want something, when we want to embody a certain persona, we can write it down and we can start placing focus on how to become that person. And that person will always manifest because it has to do with as much time and energy that you put into it. How much do you love this person? How much do you love yourself that you're willing to go to the extreme of putting all this information into yourself and changing yourself for a better and positive outcome? So when we start to talk about the highest potential and the highest personality, who does my highest personality look like, right? When you start to embody that, you're actually playing with the personality grid complex. There's a 64-bit cube that's inside of us. Half of those cubes are negative polarity, half are positive polarity. This is what the star people have told me. And so imagine that each higher self is a soul fragment that fits into your body. But the personality grid, so imagine I'm pulling from my higher self. But let's say each and every one of you guys, you want to be like me, like my personality. You want to take a tiny piece of my personality. So we call it mirroring. And so, but what it actually is your higher self pulls a tiny little piece from my higher self and puts it into that 64-bit cube. And so now all of a sudden, when you're going through your day during certain experiences, you may feel my energy. You may feel, okay, right? Oh, I feel stronger just because, and you don't know where it comes from. Now, I've witnessed this too in 2019 when I went through my whole life shift, because I was in a real toxic, negative place once too. I was a cripple. And so when I was going through that transition, my dark night of the soul, there were people who I would feel laughing through me, and I haven't talked to them. It was like 15, no, like 13 years. I haven't talked to them, but I would feel them laughing. I would feel them in my body. I would feel like they were with me. I would feel my ancestors like they were with me, right? And so, but I was having these experiences, and it was like, it felt like everyone was projecting that personality through me. It was completely out of my control. I had no idea how it was happening. I just knew that it was funny. And I knew that they would come out with some crazy jokes, and it was just nonstop laughing. But that's what I needed to go through because I was going through my healing. And so when you laugh, it helps you to heal faster. So many times when you guys are going through your dark night of the soul and you shift out of it. So let's say you change a patterning that's holding you back, then all of a sudden your star families can project into you different personalities from people that you've interacted with because you know and you're aware of them. They are even saying that they can even push personalities into one of those cubes in your grid from people that you don't know who are really, really funny, so that you resonate really funny humor in the now moment. So this personality cube, they come and they go. And so this is how we channel. This is just the science behind how it's done, he's saying. And it's inside the energetic grid structure that's tuned into the thought grid. However, when we start to realize that this is how it's done, then we can call down different soul forms. So imagine being able, who's your, I guess it's like, it's not idol. We're not supposed to idolize people. What is it? Your role model. Who's your role model? Feel how that person makes you feel. Have you ever caught yourself and you're just like, oh, I feel like my role model's with me? That's how this works. That's because there's a piece of the energy that sits inside your personality grid complex. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I mean, that's just part of the channeling. Now, what they're also saying is that you can call up people. So let's say you dropped into a meditation and you wanted to call up your grandmother. So you can call up your grandmother, and that energy will embody into your personality complex. He's saying is in the heart. So it's in the center, but it's directly connected into the thought grid as well, because it projects into the thoughts. That's how they're able to communicate with us. So when we call upon our ancestors, they are diving into one of those cubes inside the personality grid complex. And then it allows thoughts, feelings, and emotions to radiate inside of us and changes us. So, for example, like cracking up jokes, right? So we are embodying in the inside a personality of someone that we knew and loved, and then all of a sudden it's making us funnier. So our jokes become hilarious. Or uncontrollable laughter, because that was something too that would happen. Yeah. Yes, thank you guys so incredibly much for showing up. So, okay, let me just see real quick. We went over that post. I hope that that was good for whoever needed it. Let me just see. Okay, so Saturday the 25th at 6 p.m., we're doing an attachment masterclass. So the attachment masterclass is basically going to be a full knowledge base of what attachments are, what they do, how we get them on us, how to remove them from our energetic grids, how to know what type of attachment. There's so much information. I have it down as a 1 hour class, but it takes about 2 hours. So just be prepared for an extended period on that one. So if there's time at the end, we may do some attachment clearings. I'm not sure yet, but that one is not recorded. That's on Saturday. There's still seats left, so you guys should reserve, because those classes always fill up very fast. So when we go through the attachments, all of a sudden, now anyone who's doing like healers, Reiki healers, working with groups, or you just want to learn this information so you want to take it and help the world, that's perfect, because any and all questions that you guys have, I will sit there and I will answer all of them pertaining to the attachments, how to get rid of them, how to feel better, how to clear your energetic grids, all of this stuff. So that's on Saturday, the 25th. That one is at 6 p.m. and it's on a Zoom. So at Saturday, the 25th at 8 p.m., we have the inner group channeling session. So many times people, they come to both and then they sit and they get like a whole lot of information. So anybody can come to that one. And then whatever questions you guys have, you can ask me those questions. If nobody has questions, I normally whatever it is that the star people want to tell the people who are there, all of that information comes up. So I also offer sessions. So anyone interested in having a session with me, you guys can go to daniellelipton.com. My schedule is pretty busy, but there are some openings left. I also just recently started doing attachment sessions. So that's also found on daniellelipton.com. The attachment sessions, it goes for a couple of hours. It's very, very, very extensive. After the session, both me and the other person, they're in their house, I'm in mine, but we both have to do saltwater baths. There's a lot of emotions that gets triggered during this type of process. There's a lot of releasing. There's a lot of emotional releasing. There's a lot of attachments that get cleared off. And so, but you feel a whole lot better after it's done. So it truly is a blessing and an honor for me to be able to do this for you guys and help heal you along your journeys. Now, I personally, from what I've seen, when people have the attachment sessions, it's like things change. And so like it clears out the energy to such a degree in which everything starts to fall in their lap, or they become happier, or something positive always comes of it. Now it's truly, truly a blessing to watch. And so I know how I felt. I did it for 4 days straight with the Arcturians. And on the 4th day, I was like, I feel wonderful. And they were like, now you have to unpack the emotions. And I was like, what do you mean? I feel great. And then it's like, you still have to go through afterwards and unpack, how did it make you feel? So what memory came up? How did that make you feel? Is there any emotion still inside your body pertaining to that memory? So we want to go through again. We want to release it again. So it is like, it's not a one and done. But it's a master clearing, right? So just imagine you're taking 90% of that junk off your grids, and then you have to continue. So it jumpstarts your evolution 100-fold. So yeah, perfect. And then I do have ascension sessions. A lot of people have actually been getting my ascension packages, which it's great, because the price on that one, I priced it so anyone who really, really wants to do the work and really wants to raise their frequency, it's priced at less than half price for everything. And I actually did throw in an attachment session to that too, complimentary. So this way we can really help to raise your frequency by removing the attachments and then getting the information you need to really raise your frequency into the next level. I've seen people do wonderful things. They told this one lady that she should bend spoons, and she bent like 5 of them. No joke. And then a lot of people have aliens showing up in their room. Not aliens, extraterrestrials. My starman saying, don't call me an alien. So much fun. Anyone who has questions, you can send them to me at daniellelipton.com. My Facebook people, you can send them to me on Facebook. I do try my absolute hardest to make my way down that message box. And so, but that message box is like 100. So sometimes I get down the list and I'm just like, okay, maybe tomorrow's a better day, right? We do a little each day and just try and keep it moving. But send me your questions, because the questions, I'll write them on my list and I will broadcast them on to the next live. This way you guys have the information that you need. I don't like gatekeeping information. They wanted me to change the way that sentence was going to flow. I don't gatekeep information. So if you guys have questions, I'll put it on a live. This way everyone has the information that they need. And just realize that there's other perspectives out there as well. And so take the information, research it, see what manifests into your own life from it. Is it healthy? This is how I gauge my information. Does it make sense? Is it logical? Is it healthy and beneficial? And can I use it to change my life for a better? So if it fits in that modality, in that box, then I'm good with it, right? Because I can see it, I can guinea pig it on myself, and I could take it to the next level with my life. And then I could share it with you guys so that you guys can do it too. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I made a whole bunch of different screensavers. I think I made video one so that the background was very flashy. It looks so amazing, but I think it was making the video glitchy. So yeah, it's why I would rather see the comments. I like talking to you guys. I feel like you guys are like my family. Like, I don't know. When I first started doing videos, I was so uncomfortable doing this. So, but now my regulars show up and I'm just like, oh, there you are. So it makes me feel better when I see like your name and I'm like, okay, that's one of my people. So I'm good. Right. So yeah, this is wonderful. But thank you guys so incredibly much for coming. Okay, what to do when I have no dreams to sort out now. So that's actually a different level of consciousness. That's one of the lower frequencies when your mind won't allow you to focus on your dreams. I was at that level once before, so I know exactly how you feel. Where it's like you just can't focus on your dreams. It's just not there. So you say exactly what you said. You can't focus on your dreams. Like nothing makes you happy. So in that case, you would actually want to have a look and see if you have a shade in front of your heart, because a lot of times when we cut ourselves off from energy, there's a shade in front of the heart that blocks emotions from coming and going. And so we may feel very suppressed, very darkness, density, useless, right? And so all these different emotions, they cut us off from our dreams because the source frequency lens is radiating out to the root chakra, which wants you to start healing yourself instead of dreaming on things outside of yourself. And so what is a dream? A dream, like a dream that we have in the real world, like my dream to be X, Y, and Z, right? That's something that you want to achieve, something that you want to will into the simulation for yourself. So when you can't focus on your dreams, it's because you have to focus on your body, but as well as your location grid. Who do you have around you? Is anyone suppressing you? Is anyone being rude, mean, nasty to you? Right. And so you got to learn ripcords. You got to learn boundary rings. Don't let people talk down to you. Right. Everyone who enters my space, you have to be of a certain degree polite. There's ways to, and it's so funny too. There's ways to have like a disagreement or an argument with polite people. And so it looks very, very polite and elegant, even though it's not really an argument. It's just you're expressing your viewpoint, but you're doing it in such a way where it's so loving, caring, kind that it's like, how can you get mad at the other person? And so, but that's when you reach a certain level of consciousness, that's the way that we belong talking to one another, right? We don't belong raising our voice. The second that you had to raise your voice, you lost the fight. That's the bottom line. And that's how I've always seen my children too. If I ever had to raise my voice at those kids, I lost, because they just triggered my emotions and I knew it. And so what did I do? I sat down with them. I went eye to eye with them when they were 2 and 3. They were little people, so I couldn't move my back, but I still found the to get down on my knees, look them in the eyes, and tell them I love you. But you're going to change this behavior because I love you. Right. And so you kill them with kindness. You put so much love and care and compassion into them that they know that you love them so much to a degree that they will listen to you. And so, but that's where you want the people around you to be. That's how the people should be treating you, with respect, with compassion, with love. Anyone who doesn't treat you with those 3 things, you may want to take a step back, and it's okay to come inside yourself, spend some time by yourself to rebalance yourself and figure these things out. If you're in chaos environment, let's say your room is messy, right? So stop what you're doing and clean up right away, because having all of that chaos energetic, not having everything have a proper place, when we go in and we look at a location, and you'll see it the first time you walk into someone else's house. Your subconscious mind tells you if it's nice and clean and friendly or if it's chaos energy. And so when you first walk in, how does it make you feel? Well, try walking into your room and just try and blank yourself out and be like, how does this make me feel? If your room does not make you feel cool, calm, collected, wanting to lay down and meditate or just chill and be relaxed and hang out in your room, then your room needs to be changed. And so we want to always try and broadcast colors. And so anytime that you put colorful things in your walls, it triggers happy responses from your brain. Now, what is society teaching us to do? We paint the whole house white. That's not triggering anything, right? And I understand that we're supposed to have our own house so that we customize it the way that we want. But when you're white walls, right, we think of like an infirmary. So we don't want to have that. We want pops of color all over the place, because that color is actually triggering different brainwave patterns, which stimulates us. And so think about children when they sit down and play with their blocks. All of their toys are rainbow colors. It's okay to like the rainbow. It's okay, right? I'm giving you guys permission. It's okay to like every single color and to put them all together in whatever way that you see fit. Not only that, but we also have the Rainbow Warriors, which is a prophecy by the Hopi tribe. And so the Indian people, the Hopi tribe, they knew that the rainbow children were going to be born on Earth, and they were going to hold higher frequencies. They were going to be more grounded into Mother Earth. They were going to bring changes, and they were going to save the planet. That's why my Star People group has a photo of the Rainbow Warriors, because that's us. That's we, all of us as Starseeds, we are the Rainbow Warriors. That's who we are. So what does that mean, Rainbow Warrior? Now, when we are properly aligned in each and every one of our chakras, it shines a form of rainbow. This is a rainbow body of light. And so every single color, but the whole aura feels is white. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Ellen, that you went through that. That's rough. And so losing somebody, just imagine for 1 second, our energetics, they blend. And so if you've ever seen somebody with an animal, for an example, not that I'm comparing an animal to a human being, but this is only an example. So when we sense the animal, and when the human spends enough time with the human and the animal, their faces start to look very, very identical. And so this happens because there's an energetic transference among the beings who spend the most amount of time together. This is another reason why you want to have a look at who's negative, who's around you, because your energetics are going to bond to such a degree where they wash over you. It could change your face, right? You may look sad. You don't look like yourself. You'll be running addictive patterns. Maybe you smoke, drink, whatever. All of these things have to do. But when you have a person who loses their parent, for an example, right, there's a bond there, and the tighter that bond, right, and then that person's gone, now your energetics feel a loss. And so that loss is something that each and every one of us feel at different parts in our life. And we go through it through different animals, which leave us more rapidly compared to people. And then we go through it with people because we're meant to lose a piece of the simulation. And so how did it make you feel? Right. And then you really have to unpack. Right. So the people that we lose, and I went through this too, and I had no idea, like, how do I put this? So when I lost both my grandparents, both my grandmothers, these two made a hardcore impact on my emotions, even though at the moment of their passing, I knew that they'd be fine. I knew that they would go to heaven. I was okay. I cried a little bit at the time when I was younger, but it wasn't when the star people came down and they did the energetic clearing. There was so much emotion buried inside of me. And so I know exactly how you feel because all of that emotion, it was all suppressed and I had no idea it was inside there. And so, but what you have to do is you have to visualize and see her. And you can even try and contact or make communication with her higher self. Yeah. And so you're living in our house, which is encoded with all of her stuff and her frequencies. Like it's going to be even harder to be able to, you know, to move past this because it's up in your face every single day. So yeah, that's very rough. I'm so sorry that you went through that. We all go through that from time to time, though. I'm pretty sure. Not from time to time. I mean, like once in our life. So, okay, let me see. So, sometimes I get really awkward when I talk about awkward things. This is like one of those moments I'm having right now. I'm really sorry. It's like an awkward moment where I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm going to panic a little. This is just what I do. I'm super sorry. Like if I was with you, I would just hug you and be quiet because I know what you're feeling and I know it stinks and like it's, you know, it triggers my emotions. So I'm going to cry too. Just keep moving. Okay. So yeah, so today is Tuesday. So Thursday, I think we're doing another live at 7 p.m. Excellent. And then Friday and Saturday, the live should be at 4 p.m. Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Wonderful. Okay, so we are going to end the live now. And I just want to say many, many, many love and blessings, guys. You have a wonderful evening. Thank you so incredibly much for coming. And I love you guys. Yeah. Okay.